My alarm goes off every day at 3:25. I have to walk outside and get Grayson at the bus stop, and every single day at 3:24, Jackson has to take every day.
Welcome to another episode of Five Idiots Talking Toys. It's Sunday night, and that means it's time for a new podcast episode brought to you tonight by Brandon Alamo, one of the Five Idiots. Thanks very much for tuning into the channel. Maybe you're listening on your favorite podcast app. We appreciate you following us or subscribing wherever you are taking in the show. Please like the video and comment below. Let us know what you thought of this topic. Chime in and join the discussion. Let's bring in Brandon now. What's up?
Oh, hi.
Hi,
Shane. How are you?
Sweetie. Hi, sweetie.
Hi. Nice to see you. Thank you for having me on.
My kids used to play house when they were like toddlers, and my daughter would always be the mom, and she would always say to her little brother, "Come on, sweetie. Come on, sweetie." So now we tease them both and we call them sweetie. They hate it. It's so funny.
I know another guy that's in the Navy. He was a bit older than I was, not only in age, but in seniority. And he had a pretty important job in an aircraft carrier. And he used to, I think it was his thing to call everybody baby. And you could hear him on the radio calling people baby. And it gets a little awkward now when he's calling young female aviators baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, can get a little awkward.
Yeah, I could picture that. I could picture it. All right, Chris W. joins us.
Hello, Mr. Exclusive. How are you?
Mr. Exclusive. Chris is getting a little sleepy, so he went and grabbed himself some more alcohol.
I am so tired right now. Here's my alcohol right now.
So
it's a regular seltzer.
As long as this, I don't drink those alcoholic ones.
No, his brother drinks. His brother drinks the girl he drinks.
Yes. Correct. All right. Well, let's get John Walden in here.
Good evening, gents.
John Walden.
There we go. Oh, he's got his sugar-free.
Oh.
He doesn't want to drink it. He doesn't want to drink his calories.
Don't want to drink my calories.
Yeah. We're not a big soda house, but soda is so damn expensive now. Like, remember when we were younger, like in college, you could get it on sale, like a 12-pack for like $2.99.
Yeah.
It's literally $10 a 12-pack now.
Yep.
But it was on sale for like four for like $14 or something. And so I got like, 8 packs of soda. I got all the Zero, Coke Zero, Coke Orange Cream Zero, Dr. Pepper Zero. It's all the same. It tastes exactly the same. We don't drink our calories. We're John Walden's over here. All right, enough of that. Let's get to the topic at hand. Brandon likes to say, "Let's get to it." Brandon, why don't you jump in and tell us about tonight's topic?
Tonight's topic has something a little bit to do with what we're currently seeing in the toy market. I wouldn't call exactly the figure that I'm going to use an example as an exclusive, but it is reaching kind of the exclusive status. So exclusives in general in the toy hobby kind of, I think all of us are attracted to that word. I know other collectors are as well. And I know, Shane, you've collected a lot of exclusive Black Series 6-inch figures.
Yeah,
Amazon exclusive or Toys R Us exclusive or whatever, GameStop, Entertainment Earth, whatever.
Yeah.
And the figures that I'm going to use tonight as an example aren't any of those. It's more of what we're seeing currently in the toy market. That being the Star Wars retro Hasbro A New Hope box set that recently came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's an exclusive. I know it's exclusive to Target, but I don't think it's deemed an exclusive as far as like a convention figure or something like that. But I think people are treating it like it's an exclusive figure due to how rare it is, or how do I put this lightly? How botched up the distribution of the figures were with Target.com and people being able to order it or not order it. And those figures are going for like $200 for the box set on eBay as of like 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
People were selling just a box for like $50 or something, like just an empty box.
And the thing that, and I'm trying to backtrack a little bit here to find out exactly what it is that happened with it, but I think it was something with the distribution and Target with their pre-sale order.
They canceled all the pre-sales.
Yeah, they didn't have like enough to give out or something, and I'm just kind of, I don't know, man. Like that kind of stuff to me, I'm out. Like, I'm out of all that. I'm out of waiting in lines for action figures at toy shows. I'm out of waiting for, these drops on these websites to come out for some of this stuff. And something similar to me and Chris were talking about a few months ago was like the shoes, right? And so the shoe will come out and all of a sudden it's sold out because people will get the bots. The bots will grab them all. And next thing you know, people are just, charging exorbitant amounts of money on eBay and all these other reselling websites and they're promoting the market for scalpers. And I just don't understand why that is. And somebody can explain to me like, oh, well, they're doing it on purpose to make their items more rare or what. I just don't get it. But like this one, for example, that you're showing here, people were snagging these up and then charging all sorts of money for them. But now the prices have come back down to normal retail just a couple weeks later. After these were going for $200, now these are going for $85 shipped, right? I've seen on certain Facebook groups. I think they're $60.
Well, the thing is, when they first talked about this, they had the pre-sale, they sold out of the pre-sale, and then Hasbro canceled, or Target canceled, saying something to do with tariffs. They already had them in stock. They already had them in warehouses in the United States, and they blamed it on the tariffs. And then these started showing up on the shelves at Targets across the country after they canceled the pre-sales. So this is a whole FUBAR situation.
Yeah, and I'll admit this is not the example that I was gonna. This is not a good example for exclusives in general with like toy cons and stuff. That we'll get to that here in a minute. But
it is a Target.
This one in general, really bothers me because you could have easily. And this is going back to the HasLab. I remember HasLab did like the sail barge, and then they did the the Ghost, and then the one from Mandalorian, the Razor Crest. Like they made enough for people to order for them to come out with, right? And I just don't understand why toy companies don't do the same for stuff like this. Like, why not just offer this up? And if a pre-sale is sold out, to me, that's just bad business because people want this, and just make enough figures for everybody. Have people order ahead of time and come out with 8,000 box sets or however many people order. And if you miss out on it, you miss out on it because you didn't do that in time. But I think there should be a left and right as to how long they offer the pre-sale for, and they just make that amount of figures for the people that actually want them. Because all this does is really, to create hate and discontent in the toy market by people upcharging these for $200. I mean, you should have seen some of the comments that were going around about people on the Facebook groups that were selling these for $200 or whatever. And I just don't understand why Hasbro just doesn't, say, hey, we're going to open this up for pre-order from June 1st through June 30th. If you don't get your order in time, we're only making a set amount, and that's it. And that way it gives everybody the opportunity to purchase a box set. That way scalpers don't have the opportunity to make that money on this kind of stuff and go and hoard 2 or 3 of these from Target. People are going crazy. They go to Target and they buy them all up, and I'm just, and on the other side of the coin, I don't know why people are paying $200. Just wait.
Yeah.
Wait on this stuff, man. Do you really need this right now? Do you need to, 2 weeks ago, this was $200. Today they're $85. You mean to tell me that somebody needed this so bad that they were going to spend $200 for it? I don't understand that.
No way.
Junkman said that they're going to be having, and I don't know how honest or what his sources are exactly, but they said that they're going to be prolific at the end of June.
Yeah.
Of course they are. They're not.
$59.99.
They're not making this retro collection. Anything that they do, they make it in abundance. It's overkill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is all overkill. It has been for years.
Years and years and years.
This set is going to be no different. It's just a bunch of people taking advantage of the market.
Well,
it's something that's mass produced that Hasbro can actually help out and do. I just don't understand, why they don't go to a certain model that doesn't allow for people to take advantage of other toy collectors.
Well, the toy collector in me obviously wants to agree with you. Let's make these things readily available. Let's make them easier to collect. And all that goes, without being said. I mean, we all would like that. But, in terms of this episode, to play devil's advocate, you have to understand, like we're all adults. We have common sense. We can imagine different angles. The toy companies, Hasbro loves this. Are you kidding me? When there's all a bunch of, hubbubaloo about can't get the figures. Where do I get the figures? Figures are going 2.5, 3 times the price on the secondary market. I mean, they love this. They're eating this up. Now, do they want to, sell and maybe there's something holding them back from selling that we don't realize, and maybe they're upset about that, and they actually do maybe. But whenever there's a rush on figures and they're sold out or you can't get them, the toy companies to some degree are eating that up. Now, at some point, they want to then turn around and sell all of those.
Well, they could have they could say, hey, we need to make more, which is what they end up doing later anyway, and re-releasing things. And then that drives the price down even further. So then they really screw everybody on that one. But they could have just released however many. The thing is, they love it when something's rare or whatever, but why make it rare? You could produce 100,000 more, and then it's not rare anymore, and then people want them. And they're going to buy them. They can make more money.
Like they're missing out on ends up happening. That's what ends up happening every time. Every time they start, at some point they show up on the shelves, and they then sell out. They get restocked. They sell out. They restock. Half of them get sold out. They restock. Then they end up, sitting there a little bit. But you're right, though. Your sentiment is right. Why these toy companies? It all comes down to numbers and spreadsheets and boring geek stuff
that we don't understand right now, and it's all about money to them and products sitting on the shelf. They don't care about us. They don't care about any of the collectors and all that. They just want to put out product and make money. But
why they haven't figured this out in a better way after all these years? I mean, you're talking about like 40. You're talking about almost 50 years. I mean, before Star Wars, there weren't action figures. There weren't a lot of toys like this. So, add a couple of years on to Star Wars. We're almost at 50 years of selling action figures. Why toy companies haven't figured out how to do this better? Now, HasLab, you brought that up.
Yeah.
HasLab, I think, is great. Now, I've never purchased anything, from HasLab, but I was all about the Rancor. And then that was the one thing that didn't hit the goal, but I do like that concept. They stole it kind of from that crowdsourced.
Yeah.
What were those websites? There was a couple of those websites where you could crowdsource something. You could get support before you produce something. And I like that concept because you can decide to buy it. If it gets, enough support, you'll get it. And that's it. They don't make more of them.
Yeah.
But these figures, they're going to make thousands upon thousands of these. I don't know what happened with this situation, but there was multiple times of pre-orders back up, pre-orders down, pre-orders back up. I mean, everybody was hyped about it.
Yeah, they're jerking everybody around.
Pre-orders got sold out multiple times. And so in terms of order this if you want it, you'll get it at retail price, you'll get it shipped to you. That is what they did. I mean, that is like a standard way to release a set like this.
Hasbro,
but how it got screwed up, I don't know.
You can go on the Hasbro website right now and pre-order whatever you want, but then pre-orders sell out of, they usually sell out, but it's just like, why are they selling out? Why don't you just keep it open for a certain amount of time? Tell everybody you're going to only keep it open for a certain
Right, just
amount
change
of time.
the date, like
And
shipping, June,
that's
now
however
shipping
many they
July,
make.
now shipping August. Yeah,
Change however you're going to make. That way you
Right.
can make more money as a toy company. Instead, they're just they close it up, and you never know how many pre-orders are left. And people just buy them up and then they resell them.
and that's what Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store do. And then of course, what was the other one? Geek, whatever. There was that other one that went out of business. They all did the same thing. They would release a pre-order, maybe even before Hasbro, and they wouldn't shut it down. They would just change the ETA date.
Yeah.
So it's like ETA early June, late June, early July, late July. Like they would just keep pushing it. Why wouldn't they just keep taking orders? They're taking money.
Yeah, right.
And if they don't ever get to fulfill them, they'll refund them, which sucks for collectors. But
Big Bad Toy Store.
The other one that I see fairly often is every year at Comic-Con. And, I think out of all the toy companies, Mattel has gotten pretty smart with how they're doing stuff, but I just don't think they're there yet. So it used to be where people were camping out 1 or 2 days prior to, Comic-Con just to get in and rush over to Hasbro or rush over to Mattel and get the Comic-Con exclusives, later known as con exclusives, but yet they'll be on the website 2 months from now. You can get the exact same thing. So that's a disaster all in of itself there. And people are going crazy selling these things on, that one might be a little different there, but the people are going crazy selling these things on eBay before they're even released, saying, that, for $200, I'll sell you the $60 figure, and that's another one where I'm just like, why don't they just do pre-orders for people that are going to the convention? You can get as many as you want. That way there are no lines, and that way you can just go and pick it up. Yeah. So Mattel started doing something like that where you order ahead of time, and then they will have that figure or car or whatever it is you're buying from them or doll there, so you can go pick it up if you ordered it prior, right? But they didn't go one step further and allow like basically an unlimited supply of it, and if you want to buy it, you buy it, and they just bring it to the con and you get it. They do the same thing, pre-order it, and then sold out, and then people are left sitting there like, well, I wanted one and now I can't get one. They're leaving money on the table. Now I know someone's going to comment on, if we have anybody comment, no, this is why the toy companies do that. I'm sure there's 10-pound heads walking around here that know more than we do, but it just bothers me as a collector to go, oh man, I really want that figure. And then I look at pre-orders and they're sold out within minutes. And I'm just like, and I could have picked it up at the con, but why don't you just keep pre-orders open? That way, but Hasbro still does it where you have to, they do a lottery system now where it's like you enter the lottery and then you can come in and for a chance to enter their toy store there at the convention. But a lot of times stuff sold out already. If they just did, hey, a pre-order window from, this date to this date, we're going to honor everything that you guys order and you can have it for pickup. You pay now, pick up later. I think people would, they would sell a lot more product and people would be a little more happier because you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours waiting in line or beating people over the head. And let me tell you, man, a lot of these times with these crowds, it gets really, some of these crowds get really violent and people are, especially with the pops, people are getting really bad in those lines and pushing and shoving and knocking people over for pops that are like $10 so they can go sell them for $600 on eBay, man. Especially in pre-order, man. If people want them, they'll buy them and don't, and just, I don't know why they're doing. Why? So they could be hot in the streets. Like Shane said, well, the companies love it when something's hot. Yeah. I get it. But like, you're missing out on the thousands and thousands and thousands of more that you could have sold. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason why they're doing it that way to make their products that much hotter. But I'd say 90% of the time, half this stuff that comes out from these conventions is 2 months later. You can't even give it away on eBay.
So that's what I was going to say about this.
You can't even give it away.
That's this Superpowers 3-pack, the black and white series with Superman, Batman, and Brandon picked this up for me at San Diego Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. And before San Diego Comic-Con, people were buying this from like AliExpress. And I don't know how they got it, but they would get them from AliExpress and they were going on eBay for like $250 before the convention, up to the day of the convention. I remember watching this, this is like a $50 set, $45 set, or something like that. It's like a $45 set. They're now $60, I think. So they haven't appreciated a whole lot.
I just don't understand why people are so impatient.
I know.
Why would you spend
that's always been the case.
$250?
Yeah.
And why would you jump all over these and spend $200 on this box set? People are so impatient. Maybe it's my years of just being tired of this shit, because that's all it is. And I'm just exhausted from these exclusives and these pre-orders. I just don't want any of it, because to me, it's, the hard stuff to find is the vintage stuff. This other stuff, like, it's everywhere, and I just, as a collector,
I was always appreciative that I could order, the con exclusive, the, SDCC, Black Series exclusives. And it was like, oh, okay, I live on the other side of the country. I'm not going there. I can still order them. But as, using common sense, talking about it now where I don't care, I don't collect that line anymore. It's ridiculous that they could have something and call it a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive and then sell it on Hasbro Toystore.com.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then of course, you remember there was there was like, the first couple years, there was just one figure. Mm-hmm. And then they got greedy. And there was the one year where they released the Thrawn box set.
Yeah.
And the Obi-Wan box that has the Leia table that
it was like the Luke Skywalker from the new movies. Yeah.
And it was like 3 large exclusives, like really beautifully boxed, really nice pieces. But it was like, why do you have to have 3 deluxe sets in 1 year as exclusives? But then you sell them on Hasbro. Like, if there's a certain time where they release, and you got to go online and you got to get them at 7:00 in the morning, and so. And then they're going for double, but later on they're all back down to like retail or less.
2 months later, you can't even get rid of the damn thing. Right, I bought the exclusive land speeder from Black Series from one of the cons.
It was best box item ever.
$90. It was a beautiful box. All this kind of stuff. 2 months later, I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, why the hell did I buy this thing? I'm looking on eBay. They were like $250 during the convention, like on eBay. I looked 2 months later, couldn't even give this thing away. I lost money on this thing. Mm-hmm. I had to give it away for like $20 because I didn't even want to look at this thing anymore. And it's just like, and they're like, nobody wants them. Everybody has them at every convention. Everybody has them at every toy store. The only one from that year that actually is worth anything was the Thrawn. And I think it's because of the character or whatever, but he's not even worth that much.
Right.
And I just don't, it's like that stuff's not really worth it. Down the line, I mean, some of that stuff doesn't even hold its value. I know that the Death Star TVC set with all the figures, it comes in that big round,
But that was kind of like, I feel like that was just old enough that it wasn't quite as mass produced as they are in the last, 8 years. It was like just old enough that it is kind of hard to find, actually. But. To call it a one convention name exclusive and then sell it online is ridiculous. If they had called it the, 2020, whatever, 2021 con exclusive figure, and then sold it at a set number of specific cons around the country, New York Comic-Con, San Diego, pick 6 of them or 8 of them, and sold it around the country where different people could travel closer and get it, that would be a realistic exclusive to me. But the idea that everybody around the country could order it to be shipped to your house and call it a con exclusive is ridiculous.
And it's just like something like that where everybody and their mother's going to want that, right? It's not like, like Scareglow, right? I told you guys on the Wins and Whiffs, it was limited to 500 pieces from Mondo, and I think Mondo does posters and art and figures and all that. This is more of like a piece of art, or his posters are limited. And that's because it's an artist thing. And that's what they do. It's not a toy that's mass produced and everybody's going to, want it and all that kind of stuff. Not too many people are going to fork out, hundreds of dollars for a 12-inch figure that for a toy line that not too many people even care about anymore, with He-Man. So it's like, I understand that, but to go and make this con exclusive that is available later on, and then people are beating you over the head for multiple hundreds, $100 for this exclusive because they can have access to it and you don't. And it's just kind of bullshit to me that these toy companies, they could be making so much more money on these things. That just tired me out, man. I was like, you know what? And now I go to these cons like, San Diego Comic-Con, and I don't even look at the exclusive. I don't even care. Because I know that if I really want it, I'm not going to wait in that line. I'll wait for the lottery. I'm not going to wait in the line. Or if I really want it, I'll buy it on eBay, but I'm not buying it when it's 4 times the price.
Right.
And that's only been me in the ass once where I'm like, oh, like I should have bought it then because now it's like quadruple the price. But I've learned out of everything in this toy hobby to be patient. Just be patient because a lot of times you see something, you're like, man, I really want that. Man, I really want that. And you end up paying a lot more for it. And then months and months later, or sometimes a year later, you find this exact same thing and it's way cheaper.
I think that was rule number 2 of collecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I used to tell people, in the Black Series groups all the time, I used to tell people, relax. You'll in 3 or 4 weeks, you'll be able to get it for regular price. Like
people just cannot wait.
Just have patience. Like just chill. You do not need a $40 figure for $100 right now.
Yeah.
I do like some of the exclusive stuff because I like the hunt. You know what I mean? I have on order. I do have a pre-order for a super secret action figure that I'm not going to reveal until I get it. But apparently now it won't be until August. They said it was going to be shipping out June 5th. Now they said it's going to be August. So, I like the hunt and stuff like that. I don't like the exorbitant markup.
Yeah.
The pursuit. I don't like the exorbitant markup of some of this. I mean, I understand if somebody wants to tack on, $5-10 or something like that. Sure, I get it. They were the ones. They went out. They hunted it. They found it.
But it was like it's like the back in the 80s and 90s when I was collecting, whatever toy line. I remember collecting starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. They're like $5 a piece now.
Yeah, they're worth nothing now. But I remember going with my dad and looking for, we had just gotten the Florida Panthers, which are in the Stanley Cup, right now. And we had just gotten the hockey team, right, in 92 or 93, right? And so we're all about hockey. It's new to Miami. Everybody loves it there. And we were looking at starting lineup figures. And then what would come one per case in a starting lineup case of hockey figures? The goalie. Because nobody wanted the goalie because the goalie's a boring figure, right? No, they don't play. They just sit there and guard the goal, right? So, but one per case. And I don't think the toy companies were doing that on purpose. They were doing that on purpose because they figured that the goalie probably wouldn't sell as much. But that ended up being the rare figure in the case, and everybody wanted the goalies because it was the thrill of the hunt of getting the goalie, not
the one per case. Yeah,
one per case. And I remember looking at a case of Alien figures, and not the one that Chris shared, but it was one of the more modern Alien 4 that line that came out, and it was funny because it was only one Ripley per case.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, what were they thinking?
Ripley.
But I don't think that they were doing that to make it exclusive.
Yeah.
I just think that they thought that they wouldn't sell as much, and those are the times that I really miss because that's when you would go toy hunting and find the Black Manta, yeah. Right? The Black Manta was what? Probably one per case because nobody really, they probably thought, no one's really going to be. Yeah. Don't worry, out of a case of 24, we put 12 Batmans, 11 Supermans, and 1 Black Manta because you know what? Everybody wants Batman and Superman. They could care less about Black Manta.
Now that would be true if they were still selling toys only to kids.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. You're right.
When collectors
at a $10 price point, to me, those were for kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing that always irked me, and I understand waves come out, they're not always the exact same number of figures, because there's been plenty of waves that are 8 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures, and therefore they need to fill the shipper box. The shipper boxes are usually like 8 figures. For Black Series, we're 8 figures. For smaller figures, they're 10 or 12 figures, whatever it is. I get that, but as a collector, I would always say, all right, your shipper boxes are 8 figures. Why wouldn't you just release 8 figures together? Like, why is there always 6 figures, 7 figures, and then there's two of them, two of one of them, and then like the 2 of them would be like Rey, from Force Awakens, and it's like, well, Rey is now the least the least figure that anybody cares about, least valuable, because there's twice as many Reys as everything else. And I would always say, why do they do that? They know they have figures scheduled for future waves. Just release 8 figures at once, and everybody will want all of them. You're making it so that there's figures people don't want. I didn't get that. I never understood that. I understand that it's not always the same, but why though? Like, but why can't it be?
Tell me why.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of that, but I mean, there's got to be some factor there about short packing cases and all that stuff. There's
I would love to get a Hasbro or Mattel person on the show and ask them those behind the scenes stuff.
I would love to ask them about the convention stuff too, and just like, hey man, like, why don't you ever just open it up for a time period to let people actually buy what they want to buy, instead of just keeping it so secretive. Okay, now it's available. Order it now. Oh, we sold out, and it's just like, sold out? What do you mean? Like, you should be making as many of these as possible for people that want them. I understand you don't want to be left with extra stock, but like, just let people buy them and don't have them waiting in line for stuff just to sell out at a convention and waste all that time. I see that. I see people waiting in line for this crap all the time, and I just laugh and walk by. It's ridiculous.
Well, let me ask you this, because these figures, it's pretty obvious to the Star Wars fan or Star Wars collector why these figures are being sought after right now.
Yeah.
Number one, they're retro, so they're designed in the same style as the original vintage figures, which I love. And 5 out of these 6 are completely unique figures that were never released.
Yeah.
So it's, there's been a set. I don't know if it was a set of 6 or not, but remember when the set before this was released with Mon Mothma in it, that was the figure everybody wanted, because I think it was the only one figure in the set that was never released. Maybe there was 2, but this is almost a complete set of unreleased figures. So this is a hot item. Why is Walrus Man in this? Like, why is there one figure that is just already, it's already been out? Like, isn't that odd to you guys? Like, it's not 3 and 3. It's not, 2 and 4.
It's not even a figure
that nobody wants.
It's not even, well, it's because it goes with Dr. Evazan.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's probably why.
But they could have released another Cantina patron that they never made, right?
Right.
They could have easily made one of the other aliens or the bartender or whatever. That would have been a better fill for it.
There's so many to choose from in that scene.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that.
Weird.
I think just people need to settle down, and I feel bad for those people that spent literally a week ago $200 for these, and then now people seem to be finding them left and right. They're posting the picture with them online, like, "Hey, look at me!" It's just
I still can't find one. I mean, they're hard. They are still hard to find, but
even at 80, whatever it is, shipped to you for $85. I do want these eventually, because I do have in my head that the idea of setting up these retro, because I've told you guys before, I have a bunch of them, but I only buy the figures that were not released as vintage figures, whether it's from Andor or one of the new series that or these these releases of old characters. I love the idea of setting them up on the shelf next to the vintage, but $85 for this, I'm just like not all about it. I'm not interested in spending $85 on this.
It's $60 retail, so if you get lucky and go into Target, it's on the shelf.
Well,
Because,
that
I mean,
sounds right. It's $10 a piece, right?
Yeah, 6 figures for $10 a piece, and
Yeah.
that's cheaper than the regular
It
retail
is.
price of
That
a
is.
regular retro figure.
No, I don't have anything against the set. I like the
Yeah,
set.
yeah,
I like the figures that they chose. I think the price point is really good. Obviously, I think Target screwed up the entire process altogether. I think Hasbro has a little hand in that as well by not, telling Target like, "Hey, keep it open, and let's get this into the hands of everybody who actually wants one." Because I think they could have made way more money, and maybe they do have plans to release multiple waves of this, and I think they probably will. I know probably in 2 weeks you'll probably go to Target and you'll probably find 10 of these on the shelf, and nobody wants them anymore.
Yeah,
and then I'll laugh because they'll buy it on clearance.
I'm going to sell them on the page for $29.99.
There you go.
Well, as long as they don't do like they did, as long as they don't do, well, I'll buy them from Chris then. But as long as they don't do like they did with all their other retro figures and make millions of them, and they wind up at Ollie's.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if you guys, I think the story of this episode is have patience, right?
Yeah.
So if you just, show some patience, in 2027, you can come to rogue5toys.com and Chris will be selling these for $30 a set. If you just have patience. Right?
Well, that's, like you mentioned earlier with the Mon Mothma, I think her figure is going for, up until the announcement a couple of weeks ago, was going for $110, $115, something
What was
like
the
that.
announcement?
They're going to re-release that set in November.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Well, it's funny.
There you go.
It's funny because as we were just looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, what's another factoid about this is you've got 2 figures that are highly desirable to army build. Now, I don't know that anybody's army building these figures the way they do with the vintage figures, but I mean, the Rebel Fleet Trooper, I mean, there's plenty of people that would love to have 10 of those.
You know what, Shane? They released that figure on the Power of the Force 2 card, which, Chris and I know all about because we've had multiple of them on the page there. Yeah. And we can't even give that damn figure away for $5.
No.
Let me tell you what, you'd think that figure would be hot because it's the Rebel Fleet Trooper. Oh my God, they never released that. Man, that thing, you could easily have it right now for $5. Nobody wants that crap.
All right, well, maybe it belongs in a set. I don't know, but between the Sand Trooper and the Rebel Trooper and the Sand Trooper, what is he? Is he a corporal or a lieutenant? I mean, there's 3 different pauldrons. There's a white, a black, and an orange. I don't know who's who, but you could have a bunch of those and set those up. I mean, those are army builders, but who knows? Who knows if they'll at some point release these figures individually? I mean, there's nothing holding them back from doing it. They're selling them as a set for now, but in 2 years, who's to say they don't come out with them indivially?
Hotcakes. They're hot in the streets.
Hot in the streets. All right. Anybody have anything else to say about
the last
this basic distribution?
Oh, Brandon, shut up already. God. I'm dying over here.
Chris couldn't care less.
Right.
Chris is over here like, oh my God, I don't collect any of this crap.
Why am I still sitting here?
I got new figures from 1994.
Falling asleep, and Brandon just keeps going and going and going and going.
I love the passion in this discussion. It really is awesome.
Yeah, Brandon's fired up
next week.
Yeah.
Chris is
yeah, and then Brandon's going to be complaining.
Yeah.
Chris, there you go. That's your banner for this week, Chris.
There you go.
Yeah, it just keeps going and going. You talked about exclusive, you talk about con exclusives, and then exclusives like this box set. And then we talked a little bit about the different toy store exclusives. There's been games. Yeah. There's been, I don't know if there's Best Buy exclusives, but Best Buy was carrying figures for a while. Yeah, GameStop, Walmart exclusives, Target exclusives, Toys R Us exclusives. Yeah, I mean, it got exhausting trying to collect these. I mean, they were coming out with exclusives every month, and it's like, just release the figures. Why do you make me go to 8 different stores? Come on. So it got exhausting. I had to tap out at one point.
I like the hunt.
The hunt was fun, but they when COVID hit, that 2020 period where there was all these store exclusives, and meanwhile you can't even go into the stores. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. All right. Well, a good topic. Maybe we'll touch on this again in the future and see how things evolve. And well, I don't know. We're 50 years in. Are they going to change a lot? I don't know. But
I don't know. We can always check the prices on half of this crap. A month from now and revisit. Like, hey, how much is this Target pack going for now?
Yeah,
free.
Yeah. And we'll check in. I'll check in on Roadside Toys in 2027 and see how it's doing.
Yeah.
$3.99.
All right, very good. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of 5 Idiots Talking Toys. We've talked about toy distribution, exclusives, and all the machinations of getting the toys in the hands of collectors and children. It seems like there's always some hangups throughout the year, every year in and out. But we move on. John loves the hunt. Brandon is tired of the hunt. Chris never has done the hunt. And I'm going to go eat dinner. So that's the end of this episode. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment below. Chime in on this topic. Tell us about your toy hunts, your feelings on exclusives, and the distribution issues and chasing these figures down. We'd love to chat with you there, and we will see you next time on 5 Idiots Talking Toys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.